Howdy ho, guys! That was a great intro. Wow. My name's Zach Allen. I am the founder and CEO of Slate Robotics. At Slate Robotics, we build human-sized robots for hackers. And today I'm going to do a little programming tutorial. This is going to be a nice long series of how to build a web interface for the TR1. And this is going to be like the actual web interface that's going to run well, hopefully on everybody's TR1s, and it's an optional package, but this will show you how to build your own sort of interface if you wanted to do something like this. It tells you a little bit how to actually build stuff on the TR1 and how I go through kind of the programming process, and hopefully might help you with a little bit of debugging issues or anything like that. For those that don't know, the TR1 is a human-sized robot that is over an order of magnitude more affordable than any other robot platform that is similar to it on the market. I mean, you can buy a one-armed TR1 on our website right now for $3,200. This is a 5-foot tall robot. It's super cool. Check it out in the description, slaterobots.com/TR1. So what I've got here is, as you can see, it's actually a browser, and we are looking around our robot. We don't have anything in the world, but we can actually drive around. There's not much. You're not going to be able to notice too well that we are driving. And we have a little terminal interface. You can go in here, you can send position commands. We have this go to position function that I sent in, and now we can see it's moving up to that position I told it to. Yeah, and this is all running with Gazebo in the background. And it's just using the camera interface. Or the camera sensor. Gazebo has this thing where you can use like fake sensors. So it's using those fake sensors, and it's generating the data for us on the fly. It's really cool. And so what we can do is actually program everything with Gazebo, because it's nice and easy. We don't have to worry about all of the problems that come with running something on hardware. And then later we can actually port this over very easily. I mean, it's literally just changing some arguments or just pointing to a different launch file, and we can run this exact same program on the real robot. So later in the tutorial, as we get closer to finishing this application, we will run this on the real robot, and I'll show you how to do all of that. So this is where I'm currently at, right? And today we'll be starting from the ground up, right? And we'll be creating this package from nothing. And then we'll get up to where I currently am in the development, and then it'll be, nothing but new stuff from here on forward. Who knows if we'll get this far today? It's a little bit complicated of an application. Not too bad if you if you have experience building this kind of stuff. Yeah, I have lots of cool ideas for this. Obviously more functions in here, like get, I think this is a function, get joint states. Yeah, so there's all kinds of, like, the server can respond, can provide, you can do anything on the terminal side. I want to be able to right click on stuff in the image, and let's say there's a table here with a cup. I want to be able to right click on the cup and then have options that are specific to the cup, pick up cup, or give to human. I don't know, but there's lots of cool. If you hear hammering in the background, sorry, we work at our office is only so big. Okay, so yeah, the mini map here that you see in the upper right hand corner, I want to be able to plot out the environment and map out the environment as we move around, so that it actually displays a bird's eye view of where you're at in this mini map. You can also kind of tell that the kind of view here is not actually integrated with the actual angle of the head, so I need to set up a data stream back and forth to so that the browser is always updated with the current joint state and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is hopefully where we'll get to in about 1 or 2 videos or something like that, and then we will move on to all the new crazy cool stuff from there. So I hope you stay tuned for all of that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to move me down here. Yo! Okay, let's see. So we need to create a new Catkin package. So what I have here is a basic Catkin create package statement, command line. What do they call it? Just program or whatever. And then this is the name of the package that we're creating. Oops. And all of this after here is all of the arguments for Catkin create package, which is all of our dependencies. And I think this is exhaustive, but it may not be. But standard packages, TR1 hardware interface, TR1 gazebo, gazebo ROS, TR1 tools, web video server, robot state publisher. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we'll see in our ROS workspace that we have this TR1 control center underscore tut. We will build this up to where TR1 control center is currently at, and then we will drop this and just work on here. Okay, if we jump into this folder here, we will see there's a cmake list.txt and a package.xml. So we need to do a few things. So how is this going to work? How is this whole application going to work? So we're going to have on the front end just some JavaScript running on the browser. We're also going to have a server backend that is handling all the communication with the ROS nodes. And sending, so like we're going to create some routes on our server that is going to accept some, JSON argument or something like that, and it's going to take that, parse it, and then pass that along, publish that on some sort of ROS topic or on some node that's waiting for some argument. So an example is when I go in here and I say go to position, I give those arguments, there's a route that's running on the server that is listening for an argument, and then it passes that along to another node that's running. So we're going to have some sort of server backend, and what we're going to do there is we're going to use node.js. I already have node.js on my machine. It's really easy to get installed. In fact, I actually have github.com Slate Robotics TR1 Control Center. I do have the installation instructions here for some of these basic dependencies. So if you have Ubuntu 16.04 and you do not have node.js installed, you can just copy this argument here, or these command line instructions here, and run that. And then also we're going to need this web video server. You can do that there. And we'll get to creating the actual TR1 control center. Okay, so I already have node.js installed. Since I do, I can run npm I. Actually, I need to make sure I'm in the our new package. I can run npm init, and that's going to create a new npm package for us in this directory. Okay, and as you can see, it created this package.json with this data here. Let's go ahead and install our basic npm packages that we're going to be using here. So we're going to do cookie parser. I do have a cheat sheet over here. There's that. In fact, I should have ran that with the save argument so that it saves that dependency against our, let's see. Yeah, so since I ran this, I had the save argument, it adds it to our list of dependencies here. Let's put that there and move that. Okay, npm I, we're going to install Express. And again, I forgot the save argument. I'll just okay. It's funny, I was just saying that. So let me open up already adds that to it. Okay, I don't know what. Okay, ignore me. Whatever. npm I num.js. We're going to install that as well. And we've just got a few more dependencies here to get into. Okay. npm I save Ross Node.js. So this is this was built by the what's their name? Rethink Robotics, and they built a Node.js interface for ROS. So if you're familiar with ROS Pi and ROS CPP, this is the same kind of thing, except it's built for Node.js, which allows us to interface with the ROS ecosystem and all of the ROS topics and parameters and all that kind of stuff without having to do a lot of work. So props to those guys for building that out. npm save, we're going to use sharp, and then we'll have one more dependency that we're going to go ahead and install now. Socket.io, which I believe is what we're going to use for like setting up a data stream. We're going to use WebSockets to communicate when we get updated state on the server side to send that data to the front end. But that might change because that's still trying to figure some of that stuff out. Okay, so we've got our package set up. You can see here we've got our node modules folder. That's where all of our stuff that we just installed lives. And then we're going to need to create a few folders. Nothing too exciting yet. We're just getting everything set up for us. We'll set up our launch folder because this is actually going to be a ROS package. And then our server folder. Let's see. What else do we need to do? So we'll also go ahead and create. Can't you just run touch? And then TR1 control center.js. There we go. I think that just creates an empty file. Yeah, put it over here. Okay, yeah, so there's our, that's going to be our main file that's going to run the server. Normally that's just named TR1 index.js, but whenever you run ROS run, so later we're going to run the actual server, we're going to do ROS run, TR1 control center tut, and then the actual file name you want to run. By having it named index.js, it's going to be, there's a bunch of other things in the node modules folder that's also named index.js, so it helps make it unambiguous which file you want to run. So let's talk about the server. This we're going to get a little complicated on. And this is going to be, I did it this way so that we can have, we can easily create a list of commands on the back end that we can, where we don't have to go in and change a lot of code. So let me show you the way I've got it currently. So this is on the left-hand side, this is the server as it currently sits. And we've got this command folder, and we've got this list of commands in here. So we can see we're at the router, we've gone to the command folder, CMDS, and list. And then in here, we can just add, if we want to create a new command. And by command, I mean like the down here, where I can do these different commands here. If I want to add a new one, the way I've got it currently is I can just add a new file here, and that way it's pretty simple, and we could probably even in the future make that even simpler. but that requires a bit of complexity in order to do that. But all this other stuff here is pretty basic. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and just create these folders, and then we'll just get our server up and running, and then we'll worry about implementing this kind of complex command, sub-route in a second. So there's our views, and okay, so let's go ahead and start creating some files here. So our main server, what is that going to look like? Okay, so let's do, I'm going to use nano here, and let's do TR1 control center.js. So, user bin environment node. That's going to allow us to do ROS run. And let's create our list of dependencies here. So we're going to require the HTTP module. I'm going to use Express. Body parser. And then we're also going to have to set up a router, which this is where those lists of folders we just created is going to live. We're eventually going to set up a config file. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but we need something that's going to save some state. I'm going to leave that out for now because I don't know if that's actually the best way to do it, and that's not necessarily required for where we're at right now. So let's create our Express app. App.use. We're going to use the body parser.json middleware, and then we're also going to use let's see, URL encoded extended true. There we go. Okay. I also do this. This is mostly basic stuff for every node server that I create. I usually use some combination of this, and then this is just going to print out what console.log request.method plus request.path. And yeah, so this is just going to print out what the actual what's actually getting sent to the server. So what kind of method is it? Is it get? Is it push? Is it delete? Is it, or it's, what is it? Get, put, delete. There's another one. And then also what the path is. So that's useful for debugging. And then let's see down here, app.use, and then for our default route, we're going to use our router, which we will create in a bit. Okay, and then var HTTP server equals app.listen. We're going to listen on port 8080. And console.log ready. And we'll do listening on port 8080. Okay, so that should be just about everything we need. Since we don't actually have this router set up, we'll go ahead and save our changes there. And let's go ahead and quickly set up our router so that we can test, make sure everything's working. So at least have our router return something. Let's see. Oops. Sorry. If it isn't abundantly obvious, I'm new to all of this right now, so bear with me as I get better. Let's see. So let me look at my cheat sheet. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go into our server router, and we're going to create our index.js. So if you remember from the main entrance server file we just created, it's requiring, or it's depending upon this router, the server/router route. And if you don't specify a file name for a particular folder, it just defaults to looking for index.js. So we're going to create that route here, and let's just set this up real quick so that we can go ahead and test that our server is actually running. Express var router equals express dot router module.exports equals router. Okay, and this is where we'll put all of our routes, right? So we can say that if you go to that route right there, we can add all of the logic here for what should we actually return if you go to that route. I think it should run just with this. I don't think we should have any errors. So let's go ahead and actually try to run the server. So node, and then we're going to do TR1 control center.js, and I missed an argument. So let's do nano. I forgot to add a parameter, or I forgot to add a parentheses right here. Okay, so we've got another. Oh, okay, so I already have my other server running over here. Let me close out of that. Everything over here, and there we go. Listening on port 8080. We don't have any errors, which is pretty cool. So we can actually reload this, and it says, or returns cannot get dash. Which is great because we haven't actually said anything for what we should return if you go to this, index or default route here. So it just says, there's nothing here, can't return anything. So that's good news. So now all we need to do is go ahead and set up all of these routes here. And I think probably with this video, hopefully we can go ahead and just get to like setting up kind of the main back-end stuff, and then the next video will be working on the front end. So nothing super exciting yet, but let's get right into it. Okay, and you'll also notice that I just use Node to run the server directly. So we're also going to have all these ROS dependencies that are going to be running in parallel with our server. So we're also going to need to set up like the gazebo, and then like all the interfaces for gazebo, some different TR1 specific tools and packages and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to set all that up, and we'll get to that either this video or next. But right now we're just setting up the Node server. Okay, so let's actually create our, let's start with our views folder here. And we're going to cd to server router views, and let's do index.js. Okay. Express equals require express router equals express.router. Let's see, we're going to use this path dependency here, and so with these I like to define, well, I'm going to define an argument or a variable called root, and this is just going to be like the path to get to in this instance our client folder, which we haven't actually even created yet, but this is going to be where this is basically just going to point to where we can find our actual HTML files, because this views folder is going to be our logic that just returns the actual HTML file for the default page, which isn't anything too crazy, but I'll get to that in a second. So router.use, and I'll get to explaining a little bit of this in just a second. Next. Let's see, so we're going to actually get the path to our file. So dir name is a variable that's in every node.js file, and it just returns what the directory name is. So we're going to join that with our root, and then we're going to go to views index.html, which is a file that we haven't actually created yet. So this is like the name of, or the path for the directory that we're at currently. Then we're going to go back and then forward into the client folder, and then client views index.html is the file that we're going to return here. And then this is just going to be response.send file path. And then we just export this. Module.exports equals router. Okay, so in order for that to work, again, we're going to need to go into our client folder, and we'll need to go to create folder, views, and then we'll need to create our HTML file here. Client views nano index.html. Okay, here I'm just probably going to copy everything over from our previous examples. Just for the sake of time. So yeah, this is all of the HTML that we're going to use. We're going to have this empty body, and then we're going to have all of these dependencies for our JavaScript to run on the front end. This stuff here is files that we're going to define. This robot.js, sketch, map, viewer, and we're going to be using the P5 library in order to do all of the front end processing and like displaying things. And P5 is really cool because it allows you to really easily draw stuff on the front end. So it allows us to do some of the cool stuff with the map and gives us a lot of control over all that kind of stuff. We're also going to be using socket.io.js and jQuery. So we've got a few things in order for this to be super happy. We've got a few things to set up there. But I think, again, if we can go ahead and go back and run our server node from Control Center, it's probably going to print out some errors in the console. Oh, yeah, so the reason it's not actually returning our HTML file is because we need to go into server router index, nano index.js, and we need to actually set up a route here so that if you go to the default route, it's going to return it's going to use our views route we just created. So this is as simple as just doing route.use and then require.use, and that should be good to go. Then we can do node TR1. Okay. I used the wrong, it's supposed to be router instead of route. Nano server router index.js. So this needs to be that. Okay. Okay, server is happy. Now we can reload, and it says root is not defined. I probably we'll do views index.js, and yeah, so I'm using this double under what do they call it, underscore? Yeah, so I'm using double, but the actual variable just had one. So no big deal there. Rerun. And ta-da! Okay, so this is our actual HTML. We can load and look at, we can use the developer tools here. We can actually see that this is the HTML file we just created. And you see it's given all of these errors because we haven't actually set up routes for these JavaScript files yet. So we have to do that now. And I'm beginning to realize how long a video this is going to be, but we will carry on just for the sake of getting some stuff done so that we can, in the next video, go ahead and get to the front end stuff, which is all the fun stuff in my opinion. Okay, so where are we at? We currently have, so we've created our views folder here. We've got our server. In our server we have our views route. We're also going to need to create routes for, we're not going to use images. We're also going to create a route for CSS, which again actually isn't necessary. So we'll just ignore that for now. And so this will be our JS. So this is, you can see in our HTML file, we're pointing to this JS route here. And here we can define where to grab all of the different JS files. So let's go ahead and set that up now so that it stops spitting out errors in the console here. We'll go back to our server and we'll use, let's see, make sure I don't mess this up here. So we're going to do router.use, I'm going to do JS. So anytime you go to the JS route, it's going to use this JS middleware that we're getting ready to create here. So we can go and delete that, or save that, sorry. And now we can go into our JS folder and create that route there. Okay, so what's that going to look like? I will go ahead probably in this JS folder, save all of our JavaScript files. I'm going to go ahead and actually copy all of this over and paste it in, which is a little less fun, but I can walk you through what we've got here. Same thing that we've been doing for the views folder. We're creating this router and path dependencies here, and then we're just defining our router here using router use. So if someone goes to, for example, JS /p5.js, it's going to use this route here, and then it's going to send the file, this p5.min.js file, if you go to this specific route on our server. And it's doing that for each one of these files here. Yeah, so all we need to do now is just insert these files into this specific directory, which is the current directory that we're in, and this will begin to return the files. If you want to see all the actual files that we use, go to our GitHub page and find this folder in our TR1 Control Center tutorial, or you can just download all of these yourself from the actual sources. But you can see we have jQuery, and then we have all of these P5 libraries, which you can go to, just Google p5.js, and you'll see that. And then we're also using socket.io. And again, you can just go to github.com/Slate Robotics /TR1_controls_center, and if you go to this actual route, you can actually see all the files here. So if you want to copy all that over, that would be the way to do it. Or just go to the source. So now if we run our server, okay, so we're missing something after argument list. Oh, because we didn't, let's see, so that is nano server router index.js. We did not have a comma here to separate those arguments. Okay, so now we should be able to run our server. There we go. So this is all the errors that we had previously. Let's reload the page. And 404 not found. Okay, cool. So that's actually, so now you can see that it's not giving us any errors for our, for all of our dependencies. Now it's giving us errors saying I can't find all the front end stuff. Our sketch.js, robot.js, and all that kind of stuff, which is totally fine because we haven't actually created that yet. You can see it's not giving us any errors for any of the jQuery p5 or socket.io files. So that means that we've set everything up properly there. Okay, so what's next on our list of things to do to get this all set up? Let's see. So let's. Okay, so this command section. Yes, we're already running up against time, so I think this is probably a good place to go ahead and stop. I think next video we'll go ahead and get into setting up this command section, and then we will work on that, and then we'll probably get the beginning stages of the front end, and then probably the next video after that we'll go ahead and finish the whole front end. I have no idea where I'm at for time. I already guessed it's probably like 30-45 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for the next tutorial. If you have any feedback on these videos, please feel free to let me know. If there's anything specifically you want to look at or you want me to discuss in future videos, let me know, and we will go from there. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.